Digital preservation is essential. It ensures future generations can benefit from our shared cultural and intellectual heritage. And to deliver on that mission, research and development in our digital preservation practices is so essential and important. It's been a total honor and a privilege to sponsor the most distinguished student award for this year. And that's because of all the exciting innovation underway. So congratulations to all the applicants and to our finalists from Mexico, Switzerland, and the UK.
My name is Nicole Christiane Savoy, and today I would like to present to you a method for evaluating the condition of works of net art, which I developed as part of my master thesis at the Bern Academy of the Arts. The project was supervised by Martina Haidt-Vogel, co-head of the Academy's Contemporary Art and Media Conservation Program, and Dragan Espenshid, Preservation Director at rhizome.org. In today's fast-paced digital world, the web is constantly evolving, putting valuable digital art and cultural heritage at risk. This rapid change can cause important features of websites like links, animations, and audiovisual media to be no longer accessible online. Take, for example, Victoria Vesna's Bodies Incorporated, a pioneering work of net art created in the mid-1990s. This artwork used now obsolete 3D web technology to allow users to create digital 3D bodies and explore 3D worlds. But as internet technology changed, the tools used to build and access this innovative artwork no longer functioned in contemporary browsers, leading to the loss of its 3D features. Limited and misleading documentation of this complex work, as is the case with many works from this time period, has led to uncertainty of how these features should appear and how they should function in the first place. The approach developed in my thesis takes these challenges into account. The condition and functionality is evaluated by comparing certain artwork features in different software environments built with the cloud-based emulation framework EAAS, or Emulation as a Service. EAAS made it easy to adjust and tweak different software environments and test how these changes affected the artwork's performance. Finally, the use of a relational database allowed dynamic and easy documentation of observations linked to specific software environments and components of the work. For this project, the relational database was implemented in Notion and Airtable and can be reproduced with other open source tools. With this approach, conservators can piece together a comprehensive understanding of an artwork's intended performance and plan adequate preservation actions. The proposed workflow integrated into the relational database is applicable to different types of digital artworks and can be expanded to work as an institutional knowledge base for works exhibiting similar issues. Moreover, it shows that the complexity of digital objects requires specialized expertise, approaches, workflows, and tools to effectively meet their preservation needs.
The project I created called Premish, which focused on a bash script which is capable of automatically extracting metadata from a file and then converting it into a premise XML record, which is a standard for formatting digital preservation metadata. Additionally, as part of the project, I created a 4-part blog series which introduces the idea of metadata, considers its implementation in an archive setting, and then brings in Premish as a potential approach to begin addressing some of those challenges.
Hello, my name is Dr. Hannah Smith. I am a lecturer on the Archives and Records Management programme at University College London. So I would say that a really defining feature of this piece of student work and what makes it a really worthy nomination for this award is that it went above and beyond the assessment brief to actually create a digital preservation tool but also to successfully put that out into the world, out into the digital preservation community for feedback and development. And again, that kind of underlines the wider relevancy and impact of the tool that was created.
After I completed the digital curation module, I got to go on to do a 6-week work placement, and I was able to actually implement Premise in a real-world archival setting. I've also been really grateful for all the feedback I've received on the project from the digital preservation community, in particular 2 individuals who went out of their way to test the script and experiment with it. One was able to identify a bug that I'd missed, so really grateful to them because that meant that I could then go in and fix it. And also another went as far as adding new features to the script to enhance its capabilities further.
I can definitely see Premise as a really useful tool for our digital curation module. This would give the chance for students to work with a smaller scale automated tool and also to look under the hood as it happens and maybe even have a go at modifying it.
One feature I'd really like to add is the ability to update and amend pre-existing Premise XML records. That would be really useful on its own, just for if you want to make a change to a Premise record, but also for embedding within automated workflows that are performing digital preservation actions. So as those actions get performed, it will also, alongside, update any Premise records that are attached to the file. So yeah, that would be a feature that I'd really like to add in the future. So watch this space.
Las organizaciones no gubernamentales trabajan para promover el desarrollo social en diferentes ámbitos. Sin embargo, su información, investigaciones o publicaciones generalmente no son resguardadas de la manera adecuada. En cuanto a preservación digital, las ONG se enfrentan varios desafíos, tales como la falta de infraestructura, presupuesto y la inestabilidad. Wikimedia México es una organización dedicada a difundir la enciclopedia en línea Wikipedia. Entre sus objetivos se encuentra la promoción de la cultura libre y el conocimiento, el acceso abierto, uso de licencias libres y derechos digitales en México. A lo largo de su historia, ha generado una gran variedad de documentos de tipo textual, audiovisual, correo electrónico, páginas web y redes sociales. De esta forma, esta investigación se centró en cómo preservar a largo plazo los documentos digitales de Wikimedia México y establecer estrategias para lograrlo. En primer lugar, se identificaron características y retos que enfrentan los documentos digitales basado en la literatura científica, buenas prácticas, estándares y publicaciones de la Digital Preservation Coalition. Así, se determinó que la información y documentos que dan cuenta del trabajo y la historia de Wikimedia México se encuentran en una situación crítica y vulnerable, de acuerdo con los niveles de riesgo de la DPC. En segundo lugar, y a través de entrevistas realizadas a integrantes de la organización, se identificaron prácticas, necesidades, experiencias y expectativas sobre preservación digital de su propia información. Entre los hallazgos se encuentran iniciativas de preservación personales más que colectivas, falta de presupuesto asignado, excesiva confianza en medios privativos de comunicación y documentación de experiencias y aprendizajes en publicaciones académicas. En tercer lugar, se desarrolló un esquema de preservación dirigido a Wikimedia México, pero que puede ser replicado y adaptado por otras organizaciones similares. Este esquema se organiza en actividades o tareas a corto, mediano y largo plazo y está categorizado en ámbitos organizacional, social y cultural, tecnológico, legal, económico y documental. Finalmente, esta investigación tenía como objetivo fomentar la reflexión de la preservación digital en espacios más allá de los académicos, particularmente en México y América Latina. Me parece fundamental profundizar en los problemas y los retos específicos que enfrentamos en estas regiones para diseñar estrategias y adaptarlos a nuestros contextos. Creo que es importante que la comunidad mexicana continúe participando activamente en las discusiones y aportando nuestras experiencias y perspectivas, lo cual nos ayudará a enriquecer la conversación y a asegurarnos que las soluciones puedan ser efectivas para todos y para todas. Un saludo y muchísimas gracias.
This project is the first holistic assessment of access to and description of UK public sector web archives, with a focus on developing community best practices to start working towards more just and equitable access to the UK's shared online heritage. The aim of the project was to explore web archive description and user access and assess current approaches through a critical and equity-focused lens. The project comprises two outputs, the dissertation and the practitioner interview dataset. Web archive managers and curators were interviewed on web archive description, access, and how they engage with users. This is the first study to look at UK public sector web archives as a collective group. The interview findings were then coded using Atlas TI. This method ensured a systematic examination of the data collected through interviews, allowing for the identification of key themes and insights. For description, these were that there were multiple systems and versions of metadata, and there were challenges around archival hierarchies and metadata at different levels. Access was governed by either non-print legal deposit regulations or the Public Record Acts, apart from one organisation, with the former imposing far more access limitations. Non-print legal deposit also affected how far libraries could meet user needs, with negative consequences on the impact and use of collections. Finally, there was a real difference in understanding user needs and defining use cases depending on resource and funding to do that research. There's also a focus on web accessibility across the board, driven by public sector guidelines, which brought about shared understanding and tangible actions in this area. Any similarities in our approach were due to standards, legislation, lack of resource, or the built-in functionality of archiving solutions, and not best practice or knowledge sharing. For access, the study found there were no best practice for access, but frameworks such as the DPC's rapid assessment model with a tiered model of good, better, and best could be a good starting point, offering clarity to a core or basic service offering and acting as an advocacy tool to unlock that resource and funding and communicate benefits. For descriptive metadata, one existing best practice framework by OCLC could be a useful tool to framing more granular approaches with limited resource, but needs much more emphasis on communicating rights and access and the reasons for restrictions to users in a clear and concise way. Three key areas of inequity were then highlighted: parity or equity of access for on-site users at legal deposit libraries, explaining access to users, and defining the use for and purpose of different forms of access. There are a few examples of quick wins or existing good practice. Two examples of this are the good uptake and understanding of web accessibility guidelines and scope to use a similar approach for other areas, and using the Archive of Tomorrow's model of community engagement. Through collaborative working, there's wide-ranging benefits for organisations involved, their users, and the wider community, especially for smaller, less resourced initiatives. This project's key strengths and benefits are its focus on equity, intersectionality, and understanding communities, whereas technical conversations dominate this area of research. It's also the first sector-wide holistic view based on web archive practitioners' experience. And all the research data was open access, encouraging reuse.